Hi guys, Joy from Sharp11 Music here. Welcome to this week's lick of the week, which is one by Phil Woods on Willow Weep For Me. This week I transcribed a duo solo by David Sanborn and Phil Woods on this tune, and it's an amazing performance of the whole band in total, and especially those two alto giants there. They do both a great job, but I picked a lick of Phil Woods actually because he does something really insane, I think. So let's get into the lick. So this is a quite big outside concept, so let me explain it from the start. The first thing to notice is that he kind of modulates a certain pattern, and he starts off in B flat, and we are on the E7 chord. I'm talking for E flat instruments here, so if you're a C instrument, just try to comprehend the idea rather than the exact line. So he starts off with a very clear B flat lick. Why is it clear that it's B flat? Because if we think of B flat, he plays the 1, the B flat, the C, that's the 9, the D, which is the 3rd, and then the G, which is the 5, which is actually the Coltrane pattern he used over giant steps, of course. So 1, 2, 3, 5 of that key we're in. So because we are in 3/4 here, we need one beat more to fill up the complete bar, and then he actually does a double chromatic approach, like we will see, into the next phrase, which is this phrase modulated. So how does this B flat ID to start with connect with the E7 we're on? Well, that's a classic tritone substitution here. As you might know, we can substitute in dominant chords each dominant chord for its relative tritone away. So in this case, E7, a tritone away is B flat 7, and that works because both have the same guide tones, the same 3rd and 7, so the same function. So that's the starting point for this complete outside pattern he's continuing, and then he's resolving it to E flat, so that would mean a secondary 5. He makes that B flat in turn a secondary 5 for E flat, and the pattern also seems to connect that way. So the last beat is a double chromatic approach towards that E flat. We have E flat and then the E from above and the D from beneath that E flat target chord for the next bar. So then we apply that same pattern, 1, 2, 3, 5, and then a double chromatic approach for the next chord to that bar, and that sounds like this. So as you can see, we're actually making one big secondary dominant chain at this point. B flat here is the dominant of E flat, the secondary dominant of E flat, because we are clearly not for real in E flat, and then the E flat in turn is the secondary dominant for A flat. In this case we will go to A flat minor. So here is the first time he breaks up the pattern just a little. It's the same pattern, but now we have a minor 3rd instead of the major 3rd. So it's 1, 2, flat 3, 5, and then a double chromatic approach. But this time he also breaks the pattern of secondary dominance. He now, you would expect it to, if it would continue like the 3 chords before, then it would have to go to D flat here, as A flat is the relative dominant of D flat, but it goes to a C chord. And then on this C chord we have kind of the same pattern, but again he just changes one note, in this case the 2nd note, instead of being it just a normal 2 or 9, which is the same, it's a sharp 9. And then he recovers the idea of the secondary dominant because the C is leading into an actual F, and that F is kind of minor. Actually, I think it resolves to F, so we have a secondary dominant feel, but it's he's back into the half tone, whole tone scale, I think, how he finishes off that lick. If you look back at the complete solo, you will notice that this is played in a context where he played right before this pattern half tone, whole tone thing. So he's kind of recovering that ID when he just resolved it to F and finishing that off like that. So to finish, I will just leave you with an idea how you could take this ID without necessarily copying. I'm not a big fan of like copying IDs just like literally. I like the ID, so you can take that first ID for in major 1, 2, 3, 5 double chromatic approach, and then to its secondary dominant to the next chord and continue the ID instead of where he got to A flat minor and then eventually to C. Instead of continuing the ID of secondary dominance, I would continue that ID through the cycle of fifths. So that, let me give you an idea of how that would sound. And so on. I mean, you could literally go on. So I made an exercise for this pattern, which you can find for, or patrons can find it on Patreon, and then you can study it. But I would rather do it just from trying to do it in my head, in my brain. I think it's a very good brain exercise. So guys, that was actually the lick of the week. Let me know what you think about this insane lick. Or if you liked something else out of the solo, please let me know in the comment section below. If you would like to follow Sharp 11 a little bit more, we have an upcoming album, so you can follow us on Instagram or here, of course, on YouTube. And I'll see you next time.